Now that Texas had become officially a state, the United States had to protect it. It had to guard it. Mexico was not happy when Texas joined the United States. Tensions between the two countries grew stronger. Mexico and Texas did not agree as to what land belonged to Texas and therefore belonged to the United States. The map to the right shows the difference in what the two countries considered to be Texas land. Everything that you see in green is considered the United States. Everything in orange is considered to be Mexico. The striped color in between is this disputed area of land that Mexico wanted to claim and Texas and now the United States wanted to claim. The map to the right shows the difference in what the two countries consider to be Texas land. The United States said that Texas land reached as far as the Rio Grande River. Mexico said that everything west of the Nueces River was still part of Mexico. As you can see from the map, more than half of the land of Texas was in dispute. This included the land that Texas had promised to the United States in order to pay off its debt. The Mexican government ordered its representatives in Washington, D.C. to return home. Tensions continued to grow. It looked like war was going to happen. President James K. Polk wanted a political, a non-military solution. His plan was to purchase large amounts of land from Mexico. He sent representatives down to Mexico to discuss this idea in 1845. He thought if we just paid them for the land we're arguing about, the whole problem might just go away. But Mexico refused to even meet Polk's representatives or to even talk about it. So Polk tried a new method. He wanted to get Mexico's attention. So he sent General Zachary Taylor and over 3,000 U.S. soldiers. Polk wanted Mexico to know that the United States would defend its new state, Texas's borders. Taylor and his men set up a camp at the Nueces River and along the Rio Grande. Mexico was facing economic money problems. It was not ready to fight. It hadn't recouped its army, and it hadn't recouped money to buy and train a new army since the war with Texas. However, it was angered by the U.S. troops sent down to guard the Rio Grande River. It took this as a definite threat from the United States. We know from the Texas Revolution that Santa Anna would not be bullied. Mexico sent its troops right up to the Rio Grande River to meet the U.S. challenge. The two armies were camped on either side of the Rio Grande River. In April of 1846, the tensions finally broke by action. Mexican troops crossed the river. They attacked a small group of Texan soldiers. Upon hearing about the attack, President Polk requested that the United States aid the defense of Texas. On May 13, 1846, the United States officially declared war on Mexico. When the war began, President Polk asked for volunteers. Many people responded and joined the struggle against Mexico. Over 8,000 Texans signed up for fight. They were more than ready to do battle with Mexico whenever it was necessary. Americans from all over the United States headed to the border to fight. Even former Texas President Maribel B. Lamar served as an officer of the war. Matter of fact, Governor James P. Henderson stepped down from his office as governor in order to join his fellow Texans in the fight. The final army included over 100,000 men from all over the United States. Women helped out by tending the farms and families while the men were away. Some women helped nurse sick and wounded soldiers. Even others mended and washed uniforms or helped with the cooking around the military camps. President Santa Anna was once again personally leading his Mexican army, but the Mexican army was at a disadvantage. The United States soldiers had much better weapons and supplies. In September of 1846, General Zachary Taylor's men pursued the Mexican army across the Rio Grande River and into Mexico. They fought a fierce battle that lasted 5 whole days, after which the Americans set up a prominent military camp in Monterrey. General Taylor refused to give up, and in February of 1847, Zachary Taylor's army defeated the Mexicans at the Battle of Buena Vista. At the same time that Taylor was fighting at Buena Vista, General Stephen Kearny was leading a U.S. Army west. Kearny seized New Mexico and moved into California. He took both from the Mexican forces. So you have Zachary Taylor's army moving down through Texas and into Mexico. You have General Kearny's army moving west across the United States into California. Meanwhile, in March 1847, General Winfield Scott's army headed straight south, and it arrived at Veracruz, Mexico. They fought hard to reach all the way to Mexico City, the capital of the nation of Mexico. On September 12th, Winfield Scott's army attacked and captured the fort protecting Mexico City. Santa Anna's army retreated. The next day, a white flag of surrender was flying over Mexico City. The U.S. Army had won. It occupied Mexico. We had won the Mexican-American War. We had so decimated the Mexican army, and we had intercepted so many of the high-ranking Mexican officials. We had even taken over their country. If America had wanted to, it could have permanently destroyed the country of Mexico and taken all of that land for itself. But America wasn't about conquering. It simply wanted peace. The Mexican-American War had started in 1846, and it was already over by 1847. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed on February 2nd, 1848. The treaty brought an official end to the Mexican-American War. Mexico agreed to surrender all land between Texas and the Pacific Ocean. This became known as the Mexican Cession. In exchange, the United States paid Mexico $15 million. The Rio Grande became the official border between Mexico and Texas. The land that we had won in the Mexican Cession later became the states of California, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Colorado. Men and women were already living on this land. They were allowed to stay, and they became American citizens. Texas had won the war, but they still had some problems to work out. War had once again added to Texas's debt. In addition, many people living on land near the Rio Grande did not want to become a part of Texas. They thought of themselves as Mexicans. This included the people of the city of Santa Fe. So Texas had to make a political agreement with these people to solve both of these problems. The agreement became known as the Compromise of 1850. The United States paid Texas $10 million to give up 1/3 of its land. This allowed Santa Fe to be separate from Texas. They were allowed to form their own territory, unique to them, called the New Mexico Territory. Texas used the money to pay off its debt. It even had leftover money, which they put into a fund specifically to help with the public school system. Mexico had lost a lot of land. Historians disagree about whether the United States really paid Mexico enough for the land, but the United States didn't have to pay Mexico anything. They had won the war. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo officially settled the disputes over the border between the two countries. It is still the border that we use today. American settlers could now move into this large region of land. The United States now stretched from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Settling the Mexican border dispute created many new opportunities in Texas and the entire Southwest region. Free land was offered to pioneers. The chance to own and build your own ranch or your own farm on free land was too good for Americans to pass up. Word about the free land traveled fast across the United States. Many people packed up their belongings and just abandoned and left their homes. Sometimes they left nothing more than a note saying GTT. It meant gone to Texas. From all over the United States, pioneers and colonists flooded into Texas and the entire Southwest region. By 1860, Texas's population had grown to more than 600,000 people. Farming was the most popular business. A pioneer worked to grow food and crops that did well in Texas climate and on Texas farms. Cotton became the #1 important crop in the South. As factories in the industrial age in the North grew, the demand for cotton to make cloth increased. Farms in Texas and the rest of the South worked as fast as they can to provide cotton. Cotton became a cash crop. A pioneer and a settler could make a fortune off of growing cotton, and it did so well in the Texas weather.